Drill long pan a topic, Ali pan a rocket. Muscle confusion in my try make logic. Dre if it stop it when Rochelle upon a unicorn. Common sense, coming back to base like a uniform. Gwan. Best podcast in the broadcast. Listen when indoors, listen first class. Talk about enough things, make you start laugh. Best podcast in the world. Gwan. Best podcast in the world.
Wagwan, everybody, wagwan.
Yeah, we're there.
Greetings from the Most High. Joe!
Jesus Christ.
All right, guys, just a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. We have a YouTube channel. If you don't already know, now you know. The YouTube channel is the Wagwan Podcast. Please subscribe, like, and share any of our content. Feel free to tell a friend.
Yes. And if you want us to talk about something that you want to hear about, email us at wagwanpodcasts@gmail.com, WAHGWAN podcast@gmail.com. And we're also on Instagram. Follow us, comment. Yeah.
We're also found on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, SoundCloud, Amazon Music, and all your other favorite streaming platforms. If it's a platform for streaming, we are definitely on it. Make sure you check us out.
Yeah,
Wagwan, everybody.
What's up?
Greetings from the Most High. Jesus Christ.
Bless up. Rochelle, how you doing? Miss Rochelle?
I'm good. The week is almost over, so just ecstatic right here. Guess what? And my spring break is right around the corner. I can smell it, taste it, see it. I'm already in it.
Yes.
So I'm just amazing right now.
Yes.
Rochelle.
What's up?
I ain't ever seen your hands so much. You just did your nails?
What about my nails? We always did. What's the problem? My nails always be popping. What's your problem?
Yo.
He's just a hater. He's just a hater.
Yo. Today is heavy. We got my girl Pharma Bay in the building.
Yeah.
Nice.
Activist.
Oh, man.
Revolutionist.
Yes.
What?
Everything is poppiness.
Wow.
We got Francis in the building. What's up, Francis?
Francis.
Peace. Wow, it's an honor to be here. Thank you for having me. I am not an activist, but that's sweet of you to see me in that
damn,
light.
I went one step too far.
It's okay. I'm very excited to be here. I'm excited to talk with y'all tonight.
Word.
I'm lighting
Thank
a little
you.
candle just to keep the energy open and clear.
Yeah.
I love that. Let me light
love
mine.
that.
Voodoo.
Yeah. It's all love, I promise.
No curses over here.
All love and light. No, absolutely not.
Facts. Yo, so Dre, what are we talking about today?
Let's see. So we got an eclectic guest on, right? And so we have to take advantage of her eclecticness. Yeah. See there, Rochelle?
Wow.
The blood just joined right there. The blood.
I told him how dope he was, Francis.
I appreciate
joined
it.
right there. So today we're gonna be talking to our wonderful guest about Ali, come on, man. Help me out. I can't find the text you said. Oh, liberation versus reform. Liberation. Can I get a hey man?
Amen.
We need a tambourine.
Yes, we need a tambourine.
Let's touch and agree, congregation. Liberation
Yes.
versus reform.
Yo,
Amazing.
what does that mean? Rochelle, what does that mean to you?
So yesterday, I actually dealt with this topic with a group of people that we were actually discussing what liberation was, and it was about a picture about three people, different heights, looking on a football game, but there was a fence there for equity, which that's what everybody say. We know everybody needs to be, we need to be equitable, right? The shortest person got the most boxes to look over the fence, and so on and so forth. So you got the amount of support you needed to look over the fence, and that's equity. Liberation is moving the fence altogether because somebody had put the fence there.
Mm-hmm.
And if people put that fence there where only certain people can see the game and participate in the game and get paid for being in the game.
Yes, God.
And certain people should be able to move that fence. So
Mashallah, Baba. Baba, Shala.
Everybody. I like that one.
Get a chance.
Mashallah, Baba. Shala.
Word. Francis,
Baba.
what is
incredible.
Francis, what is liberation versus reform to you?
Right. Well, first I want to say that's incredible. I love that image. I know which image, at least I think I know which image you're talking about. And it paints just such an obvious picture of, well, yeah, what equity is, like you said. And also like questioning the fence, like why is the fence there in the first place? And like, let's burn the fence down. But yeah, so liberation versus reform. And in preparing for tonight, I realized it probably should be liberation versus abolition. But I think you and I had said liberation versus reform to you because I forgot what we were talking about exactly.
So
Ali,
let's do that. Let's do that. Liberation versus abolition. Which is,
well, I mean, yeah, we can talk about all three of these things. It doesn't even have to be the two. But I think your question just now was, what does liberation mean to me? And I think it means so many things. It's really hard to answer because there are so many parts of our lives where it would be great if we were free. So I'm thinking of like, no one being hungry, there being access to food. And I would say everyone having a job, or maybe like no jobs at all. Maybe like liberation is a world where we don't even need jobs in the first place to take care of ourselves. Liberation is being able to like be your best self and you having all of the resources that you need, and that not depending on dollars, right? On capitalism, on money. Liberation to me is people being able to be in different types of relationships and not just being in like the traditional like gender roles that are placed on us. I think it's a really big question, and there's so many different pieces to it. Word. But the point is that it would require us not being held down by systems of oppression. It would require there to be like an erasure of these systems, which is how we got to liberation versus reform, because that's what it was. I don't remember the exact theme, but I remember I was saying to you, some people want to like, get.
Do we want to sit at the table or do we want to burn the table down?
That's what we were talking about. Like some people want to like make the table more comfortable, and like some of us can sit at the table, and some of us are like, why are we trying to sit at this tortured table? Like we need to burn the table down, or like break the table down and reuse the parts for something better. Like why
are we complaining about not being on the Oscars enough?
Yeah, I feel like you and I were talking around the Oscars. Yeah. Well, what does liberation mean to you and to Dre? Yeah, not everybody has gone around yet.
Yeah. Dre.
Yeah. Free your mind from mental slavery. None but ourselves can. No, I don't remember this song. How that song go again?
Free yourselves from mental slavery. None but we ourselves can free our mind.
Wow.
Oh, or is it emancipate? Emancipate.
Emancipate yourself from there we go. None but all right. So
shout out to Bob forever.
Liberation to me means to be free, right? In whatever sense or frame of mind you want to use the term in. It just means to be free. So if we're talking societally, it's to be free to do, to move, to build, to grow, whatever it is. It's just nothing is there holding you back. And it's liberation versus
reform.
reform to me is like to build anew, right? So we had a system in place. We felt like it could be adjusted, and so we're adjusting it to make accommodations for things that it left out. For the first iteration of whatever we're reforming.
So with liberation, you saying it's cool for Leah Thomas to compete against women because she's a woman now?
Hell no!
Wait, what? No, hold on.
Nah, he said to be free. He said to be free. So I'm asking about the Leah Thomas situation. You heard about that?
I think I have. This is a gender situation where someone is identifying as a woman. This is the person that was born
a man,
like with and now identifies as a woman. Yeah,
and
I mean, it was that
he's beating up all the women.
Right, they're like stronger and faster.
Naturally,
Yeah.
But they kicked out a African woman who tested too strongly with testosterone in her body.
Right, and every couple of years there's going to be some some absurd case of just like unfair rules and regulations, just like the track runner, right, who herself went online and was like, why did I get kicked out when everyone else gets to like test positive for drugs?
Just for burning it down, right?
Yeah. But then so going back to what you were saying about reform, Dre, I think it's safe to say that reform requires us to believe in something. Like if you believe that something can be fixed, that means you believe in the thing, right? Like, and I think that's my issue. Like I think that's important. There are things that can be tweaked. And then I also get frustrated when that's like people's end goal. Like the end goal can't be the body cameras on the cops. That's just reform, right? That's like a Band-Aid. Like we're gonna have them record when they kick our asses. We're not gonna dismantle them. We're not gonna find a way to like put it,
So one, Ali, state your point, and then I'll get back to that point.
Liberation to me is freedom, definitely. And reform could be, I don't like the what are those things called? The Declaration of Independence. I don't like how there's an exception for slavery in the 13th Amendment. Let's change that, and begging massa to change it. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Okay.
So that's what I look at it. And what was the third one? Abolition?
Right. Yeah.
Abolishment. Like saying, let's get rid of the 13th Amendment altogether, I guess. Something like that.
Then that'll be dumb. You wouldn't want to do that because the 13th Amendment says slavery is illegal. So you get rid of the thing that says slavery is illegal, then that leaves people free to put you back in slavery.
Or maybe not. Maybe you get shot for that, though.
Or maybe you create something else that says also slavery is not allowed.
Right.
So here's the thing, right? And let me get back to the point before you got to say what you were saying, Ali. So I don't believe in structureless freedom. There has to be structure because structure is what allows growth to happen. So if I'm doing my own thing, you're doing your own thing. Everyone on this podcast right now is doing their own thing. The folks listening won't be able to glean much of anything from what's happening because we're all doing something totally different. There has to be some kind of structure put in place so that whatever we're doing, there is some sense of at least a base level understanding of what's going on. And then we'll build from some common agreement.
Mm-hmm.
When the idea of just breaking down everything. I don't want to reinvent the wheel. The wheel works. But if we can figure out a way not to have them puncture, let's do that. If we could figure out a way to not have them catch bubbles on the side when you hit a pothole, let's do that.
Mm-hmm.
If we could figure out a way to make them more inexpensive, and more beneficial, let's do that. But to say, the efforts that all the forefathers put into bringing us to where we are now, and I'm not talking about if we're still talking about
whose forefathers?
I was just about to get there. So
I think he's clarifying.
Right, yeah. These people don't let me get a word in, my
No.
sister. I'm glad you here. I'm glad you here. But if we're talking about the folks who enslaved Black people, or we're talking about the Black people who fought to get us free, right? All of that stuff matters. Let me tell you something right now. I think the Black Americans have a sense of resilience that is unmatched around the world. The enslaved Black people have this sense of resilience that is unmatched. I've said this before, and I've since changed how I feel about it. But in my opinion, Black people ain't got no goddamn reason to be depressed about nothing, because we're so resilient. We went through slavery. Like literally, a couple of years after slavery, we were millionaires.
Some of us.
They took it. Yes, of course, some of us, not all of us. They took it from us, and we did it again.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying? So, but I understand now. Mental. It could be a mental health situation, could be chemical imbalances that cause depression and that kind of stuff. So I understand that. But in general, we have so much in our DNA, history in our DNA, that like depression, like we should just be brushing that off our shoulders and dominating through the rest of the world as we move. Similarly, what we do in sports, right? It's celebrated because it's a form of entertainment, and entertainment is what we are celebrating right now as a society. But if I remember correctly, two of the last, what do they call them? Genius level kids or something like that were like Black kids. I can't remember what they got famous for, but it was like two Black kids. Maybe it was they started college at like 12, 13. Like genius level with two Black kids. So I'm just saying, we got too much in our genes, man. Like we've been, literally, when you go to the gym, the reason people go to the gym is because normal life doesn't afford you enough resistance to build your muscles so you can become buff or brolic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Black people have been going through so much resistance. Like our muscles should be stupid strong. So when I hear Black people some weak excuses for stuff, I'm just like, yo, come on, man.
Francis,
you know better than that.
Francis, should Black people stop complaining about white supremacy? Or
no,
do we have all the
complaining
reasons
is,
to complain?
of course, complain and try to be great. I think you can do it all. I think just because you complain doesn't mean you're also not making moves and trying to navigate the system. I think it's okay to complain when it can also be unhealthy to complain, and it can cause harm on your body too, and it can be debilitating, which you don't want. We don't want to be in any sort of state that causes us to be unable, right, to show up for the things that we need to show up for. But I think it's very real. I hear what you're saying. I think of course, you had mentioned specifically Black Americans have, carry resilience in our DNA and are very strong people. And I think also resilience doesn't always feel great. I think resilience is challenging and resilience can take a toll on you. And I think sometimes for me it's hard to celebrate the resilience because I'm also reminded of all of the things that we're fighting against. Like sometimes it's like, shit, like why do I have to be this resilient? Why are there so many obstacles that we as a people had to overcome? So it can feel bittersweet for me personally to celebrate the resilience. But I hear what you're saying. And I think also one person's success story, you know, or a handful of people's success story doesn't speak to the whole picture, right? Like we kind of need to all be clear on the fact that there is such thing as systemic oppression, and that's easier for some people than others to navigate because we have different privileges. So what's easy for someone isn't going to be easy for someone else, and it's not fair. The point is that we live in a society that is not fair. It doesn't make sense, the inequity that we were talking about with this image of people trying to look over the fence. It's not fair that some people have more resources than others when there's more than enough to go around. So regardless of how easy it is for you to navigate and be a success in that story, I'm still like cranky about it. And I still feel like we deserve more. We deserve more than to have a handful of people make it. And
Like
also like make it.
Go on. And also
No, I'm
like
just
make
saying
it.
like, yeah, like make it in what? Like you made it in what? You made it in a world of oppression? Like you're excited to be, I'm not saying you're saying this, Dre. I'm just saying for people who become successful and are, you know, millionaires, or people who are acquiring a lot of wealth and you know, in order to acquire tons of wealth, other people have to stay poor. So sometimes I just wonder, like, what exactly are we celebrating when we succeed in this game of life that we're talking about, which requires inequity. Like we're not all rich. Like when people reflect on Egypt, like, oh, back in Egypt, like we weren't all the pharaoh. That's not how capitalism works.
Don't say
There's
that. Don't say
there's
that.
no way.
Rochelle will
There's
come
no way
for
we
you.
could.
Rochelle will come for you because
Rochelle, with all due
don't
respect,
say we wasn't all kings
no,
and
how
queens.
I don't know why Dre is putting words in my mouth.
being silly.
That's funny. Rochelle, how you feel about what Francis just said?
No, I totally agree with her. Like, it is okay to talk about it because it's not a day you wake up and you're no longer Black. It's not a day you wake up, you're not facing Black struggles. It's no longer a day that I don't go in to teach my students and they're coming in as Black students. So why is it that it is so stigmatized if we talk about her struggles? Karen be crying about Karen stuff, and they do that all the time, and that's okay. Everybody want to talk about their problems, right? But when once Black people start to talk, oh my God, get over it. 9/11, never forget. Right? Nazis, never forget. They're teaching that every day. Never forget, never forget, never forget. Slavery, oh my God, get over it.
Get over it.
God. It was so long ago. No, people have grandparents who were slaves. It's not that long ago though, right?
Facts.
They always want to be putting the pictures of Martin Luther King, Malcolm X in black and white to make you feel as though it's so long ago when literally those pictures were colored. There is a reason they did that.
Okay, question I got for you guys. Yes, you're right. And those pictures were actually in color, and they could have put them in color, but they put them in black and white to fool our kids and us. A question to you.
Yeah, I was gonna say our kids. Wait, real quick before you go to that question. I'm like, yeah.
Rochelle is a teacher, by the way.
Right, yeah, to fool our kids, but also to fool us. You remember? Facts. I remember being in school feeling like the 60s was eons ago.
Long time. Everybody dead. Everybody in the history book dead. Not knowing Ruby D is 60 years old.
60, what? Only 60. Ooh.
Only 60 years ago.
So a question I have for you guys. Should white people not use their white privilege?
White people have to use their white privilege in the work of good. They must. It is the least they can do. The least a white person can do is use their fucking white privilege to support and giving us free. Because until we are all free, no one is going to be free. The least they can do is put their money in our pockets, support our projects, cease from giving us advice. We know how to do what we need to do. Give us the resources. Show up in court for us. Be our pro bono lawyers. Cop watch us. Walk our elderly and our kids to and from the train.
Dre is getting tight.
If you want to be in our hoods, if you want to gentrify our neighborhoods, you want to take up space where we live, you want to displace us from our communities. The least you could do, you want to move into our neighborhood and then complain about the volume of our music, the way the music has been all of our lives. The least you can do is be of service to our liberation and our peace.
Facts.
So I'm listening to you, Francis, and all I'm hearing is gimme.
Yeah, gimme. How much you took from me? Gimme. All they do is extract.
Wow.
They're here because
it's that point for me.
Who's growing their food? Who's growing their food? Who's delivering their food? Who's cooking their food? Who's making their clothes? Who's taking care of their kids? Who's teaching their kids? Whose music do they enjoy? Whose aesthetics are they fucking sucking dry? You want to talk about take?
All right.
And then all of that is happening. And then when we go to work, I'm making less than the white chick that works at the job.
Ooh, same job.
And I might even be doing more than her because I say yes more because I can't lose my job. And I was taught to suffer and do what I got to do to get by. So now I'm doing more than I should be doing for this job as a Black woman.
Facts.
Hallelujah.
Facts.
Hallelujah.
Dre, what you say to that? Should white people not use their white privilege?
They can't not use it. It's not something they. Okay, so because of the society we live in, the privilege is there whether they use it or not, or whether they try to use it or not. It's just there because that's the way the system was built, right? So they can't not use it, and they can't, some of them decide, I'm gonna use it more here than there, right? So this white woman sees Rochelle with a blouse, and she's like, oh, I was gonna buy that blouse. And Rochelle is like, how? I got it. And she's like, can you just give me the blouse or else I'll just call the police? Yeah, she's using her white privilege there, right? But the police shows up and he instantly just goes to the white woman to find out what's the issue.
Rochelle, same question to you. Should white people use their white privilege?
I am 100% with Francis. White privilege is not something you can stop using. It's not something you can put down. Just like our Blackness is not something you can decide not to wear today. The minute they step out, that is their privilege. But what they can do, they can use that privilege for good. They can use that privilege that they got on our backs to help us to get on our feet, to give us the boots so we can pull ourselves up. The Lord saying, pull yourself up by the bootstrap. Some of us don't even have foot. Much less to have a boot, much less to pull it up, and then blah, blah, blah. So they can use, just like how they got their privilege on our back, use it to pull us up so that we, again, removing that fence. It's not just, oh, we're so sorry for everything we did, which that's fine. If you don't want to apologize, that's fine too. But don't sit down and act as if you're not benefiting from all those years when all your family are multimillionaires because you had slaves, when all your family literally led out and owned blood diamond factories.
Johnson & Johnson.
And now you are now part owner of Twitter and you pay less taxes than a teacher.
Facts. I love that. Real facts.
That's how I feel about that situation.
And also that's also how we create change. When we look at other movements, it's people coming together. Even if we look at, the civil rights movement here, it was important for white folks to be a part of that, for white folks to put their lives on the line for our liberation. And also, right, there's all of the ways you just listed, Rochelle, of white folks becoming wealthy, right? That generational wealth that they get to pass down. And then there's also poor as fuck white folks, right? We need to come together on a classist level. We need to be fighting together for change. When we get free, everyone gets free. White folks will also benefit from us getting free as well. It's not just, we are not the only ones who need the help. The reason why we have race in the first place is because they were looking to divide us, right? To divide us from other poor white people. So it's very important for us to come together and for them to use their privilege. Hell yes, like I said, it's the least they can do. Absolutely.
On
So,
this,
so, so and even just to add to what you were saying, right? Oh my God, I lost my train of thought. Yes, so they love to divide poor people of different colors. First of all, we are all poor.
That's how we got here. That's literally why black is a thing. Because they were like the enslaved, the Africans are teaming up with the poor
Poor white.
Europeans. Oh no.
We gotta divide them. We gotta
We
divide
need
and
to divide
conquer.
them.
Yeah.
They need to
And it
feel
was like,
better than them.
exactly. Right? I don't know if you ever
Mm-mm.
watched The State of Jones, The Free State of Jones. It's a
Mm-mm.
beautiful movie with Matthew McConaughey, and he was just talking about a whole, I think they were in Virginia. And when he came home, he realized that they were using the poor whites and they were abusing, of course, their slaves. So they free the slaves and literally work with the poor whites to overthrow the what were they again? Oh my God, what's the name of the Confederate, the Confederacy at the time? But once the white folks got their freedom and they didn't have to fight and they didn't have to turn over all their food to the Confederate Army, they were like, we don't need them niggas no more. Right?
Yeah.
And they just pushed us to the side and nobody cared. And it was at that moment that the Confederacy actually won the state and was able to actually fight again because they were being divided because the slaves were united with the poor people. At one point, Matthew McConaughey said, "We're all niggas to white people."
Wow.
And he said that to the white people. He was like, we're all slaves, we're all niggas. So you don't think you're better than them because we're all the same when it comes to these rich people.
Exactly. And that's what this whole country is built on.
Yep.
Yo, on this show, we like to do something called Facts News. Okay. As you know, you don't know. So this story, it has something to do with what we were just talking about. You know, they need to give us their money and make us do what we're doing. It was recently reported that Patrice Khan Colors, the co-founder of Black Lives Matter, purchased a $6 million house with the donations, and she called it the donation she got for Black Lives Matter, and she referred to it as a YouTube house. Now, how do we feel about situations like this where they do throw their money at us and then we have some house nigga doing some shit like this? I shouldn't even say house nigga, but we have a person betraying that trust. And does she make all black people look bad with that one? Or
no one is going to do anything.
No
one is ever. We're the only people that one person does something and it says something about our entire fucking race. So there's nothing one person could ever do that's going to speak on all of our identities. And that's unfortunate that happened, that she took advantage. That's not special. That's not specific to a black person or to a woman or to a black woman. That's her and whatever her beliefs are. And I wonder what the details are of that. That's fucked up.
Yeah, I saw that. I literally saw that today. And I felt some type of way about it, right? Because first of all, Black Lives Matter has been getting a bad rap since it was called Black Lives Matter, right? And for something that has stood the test of time and it has brought so much change. It has done so much positivity, right? It's like, so it should not be viewed as if that's all Black people, but that's the perception that the news is going to take. That is a perception that all the people who were always against it, see, I told you, they just took the money and this is exactly what they did. And I think that is why we always have to be circumspect, right? We always have to be better and have a higher bar than any other race, right? Because anybody else did that and it would be no problem. But we do it, oh my God. Will Smith smacked Chris Rock. Now, that's how Black people handle situations in the Black community, right? One person, I don't think you remember this story a couple years ago. This guy, he worked at a university and he got a grant, and he was supposed to do all kind of stuff. And he took this money. This man went to France. He went to all over Europe, and it was all Gucci, all of the brands that Ali wears that I don't afford, right? It was all the brands.
Stop playing. Stop playing.
I'm a teacher. We make teacher salary. Thank you. That's it. That's it. Anyway, this man was all over taking pictures and doing the most. I think it was over $400,000 that he was just spending, living his best life. And that was also something that was for the Black students of that university. Wow. And it really taints everything that we're fighting for.
I think sometimes it can be, even though it's not a representation of all of us, it can be looked at as a representation of all of us. And you know, the same thing that we were talking about, the strong Black woman. Don't call me a strong Black woman, because then you're going to hurt me in the hospital and treat me less good. What's your thoughts on that, Dre?
I mean, that's embezzlement. People embezzle money all the time.
Right.
So, you know, when I saw it, I was just like, oh, okay. She stole money.
Bernie Madoff did it way bigger than that.
Yeah, and he's in jail.
Who's that?
I mean, Bernie Madoff.
The dude that stole $65 billion from like his own Jewish people.
What?
Yeah, he stole the most money ever.
Wow.
In the history, the person that made the name Ponzi scheme, Mr. Ponzi, he did like 10 times more than him.
Really?
He stole 10 times more than the guy who was named after.
Holy crap. That's crazy.
There's a movie, The Wolf on Wall Street.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen that.
That's kind of different. No, it's not.
It's not. Okay.
I haven't seen that one yet.
But it's similar. Yeah, it's similar. It's a similar situation with Madoff. I don't know if The Wolf on Wall Street was Madoff. No, because The Wolf on Wall Street is out of jail. Madoff is still in jail.
Yeah,
that's how they get down.
Francis, let me ask you a question. Dre, you wanted to say something?
No, go ahead.
Why is it that some of us want to build our own table and some of us want a seat at the table? Is it right to want a seat at the table?
I think that's up for people to decide. I personally I want nothing to do with the table. The table has shown me nothing but violence. I'm good on the table. I'm surprised that people look at the table in a longing, lusty way. I guess there's some temptation there. I can see the pull of wanting acceptance and riches and success. You know, we've been through so much. We know that inherently that we deserve more, but couldn't be me. Really couldn't be me. I think we deserve more than the table, and I think we would create so much doper shit if we honed in on beyond the table,
working together.
That's part of it. That's part of it. And it's and you know, liberation isn't chaos, and we need the structure, we need systems. Everything is a system. We are a part of many systems. There's no way that we could successfully be outside of systems. But I don't think that the table, this table that we're talking about, it has yet to show me what we deserve. It's quite the opposite. So no, I'm much more interested in creating doper shit. And like Dre was saying, it's not about reinventing anything. We as Black people, brown people, indigenous people, people of color, like we have mad examples of how to live outside of oppression, how to live more like in tune with the ecosystem and the planet. Like we have those examples. There are ways that we can go back to. Like I'm really interested in remembering how to be in community with each other, not the shit we're doing now. At least not a lot of it. Do you think? Are you interested in a seat at the table?
I'm trying to figure out, is having a job and working for a Caucasian company a seat at the table? Is that already, or is having a seat at the table like, yo, I'ma say nigga in front of all these white people so I get a record label and be cool and be the druggie?
You're still at their table.
Power.
That lets
go ahead. Sorry.
Nah, that lets, you know, like plays the dumb nigga so that Caucasian people can look at us and be like, okay, yeah, they all like that, you know, the sellout.
I see what you're saying. No, a seat at the table requires power. There's limited seats at the table. Working like you having a job, you having a wife, us having jobs, having white bosses, us being at the bottom of a hierarchical system is not. We don't have power as employees until we start to unionize and develop worker cooperatives. Then we're talking about something else. But having a seat at the table requires power. Like think of Jay-Z. Jay-Z's like, yeah, he wants to be down, right? He's working towards being a billionaire. He wants to be at these tables with these powerful white men that are making decisions in the media and the entertainment business. He now has a form of power. He doesn't?
Listening to this conversation, like all I hear is you guys putting yourself in this disadvantaged position, and you guys are speaking from your mindset, right? So what you feel about yourself is what you're saying right now. And I'm like, it is incredible how much power each one of us have individually that we don't use, right? And then we sit down and I don't want to use the word complain, but
use it. I love complaining.
That's a problem. Complaining for complaining's sake is a problem.
No, not for complaining's sake. Not for complaining's sake.
Okay, so
the Asians complained and they got their way real quick.
What did they complain about? What did they complain about?
And
Stop
which
Asian
ones?
hate. Stop Asian hate.
They did not complain.
What did that solve? What did that solve?
I think they passed a law or something.
And what does the law and people still gonna get their asses beat, and people still gonna have inequity. They are. It's sad, but what's the anti-lynching law gonna do for us as Black people?
So here's the thing. You know what's the best anti-lynching law? If Black people get rich. If Black people get rich, there will be no more lynching of Black people.
We can't all be rich though, Dre. That's how being rich works. So there'll always be lynching.
No, that's not true.
For people to be rich, people have to be poor. That's how you get rich.
That is not true.
So we can all be rich. We can all be the pharaoh. Who's gonna work for you? Who's gonna maintain you being a pharaoh?
So let me ask you a question. JP Morgan Bank, right? How many millionaires do you think work at JP Morgan?
I don't know how those branches work. I just know I'm trying to liberate myself from Chase.
At least two.
JP Morgan is a company. I can guarantee you this, that at least 100 people that work at JP Morgan, and I'm saying at least 100 people that work at JP Morgan are millionaires.
Compared to how many people who are underpaid?
That's one company I'm talking about. The point I was trying to make is this. When you say we all can't be rich, right? I think, I'm not sure. Most Jewish people are rich, right? If they're not rich, they're well off, most of them. I don't know, I don't want to say Asians, but a high percentage of them are well off. Indians, a high percentage of Indians are well off.
Not with Indians, no.
There's so many. Don't forget that the rich make up 1%.
I'm not talking in India. I'm talking here.
But don't forget that the rich, the entire rich make up only 1%.
Yeah, but the 1% is like the uber wealthy individual.
True.
The person who
you just said, Dre, the other day though, $1 million ain't nothing.
It's not. It's not. So
relatively speaking, yeah, because you can have so much more than that. Yeah, of course.
Correct. So the point I was trying to make is this, right? I was just talking to a Jewish guy, And I said, why are you guys so blessed? And he goes, who told you we're blessed? I said, most of the wealthiest people in the world are Jewish. Y'all are blessed. He goes, why you say we're blessed? He said, do you think it's because of money we're blessed? And I'm like, yeah, it is because y'all got money. And why y'all got all that money? And he said, he went into a whole litany. We're going to have him on the show because he accepted to come on the show. So we're going to have this discussion again. But pretty much he was just like, we have certain types of, part of the Jewish culture has certain elements to it. And we reverence our culture, right? And because of these elements in our culture, it allows us to build and grow as a unit. Now, couple of the things he mentioned is we support each other. Everybody knows that. We respect the culture of Judaism. Whether they are practicing or not, they respect it. And then we teach each other. And one of the most important things he said to me was, we as a culture believe so much in family. So our wealth comes from us as a family pooling our money together and doing what we need to do, and we don't go to banks or anything like that. That's what he was talking about, the inception of how they're getting their wealth, right? Now, if you
doesn't sound like the inception. Sorry, that doesn't sound like the inception. That sounds like the maintenance. That doesn't speak to how they got to be able to do what you're saying.
If you go back to the biblical times, if you think that's the inception, right? That's how they operated. They were family oriented, and if you read the Bible, which is all we have to, harken back to those times, a lot of the people in the Bible that were referenced are relatives. A lot of them are relatives. So now, yes, you still use the same process once you've gained wealth to maintain the wealth.
Gotcha.
Right? But he was just explaining to me how because look, we all know the playing field is not even, but most people start from zero, right?
No. And that's okay, but no, that's not true.
That is true.
No, I disagree.
Most is a big
Jews
word.
did not start from zero. I can tell you how the Jews got their money if you're ready for the conversation.
Let's say
diamonds in Europe.
Let's save that for when we have the gentleman on, so he can corroborate.
So how you don't talk about how the man talk and me can't talk?
Go off, Rochelle. Go
ahead, Rochelle.
So I'm gonna tell you what happened.
How the Jews
I'm gonna tell you. So one night I was watching TCM, Turner Classic Movie, and this movie came on. Never seen it before, and it was about two Jewish brothers, and they lived before the First World War, way back. And basically, what they would do, they have two stores across the street from each other, and everybody would come and buy little things from them. And they said, people can't afford anything. We're going to trust them, but we're going to charge interest rates. And they started to charge interest rates to people. And based on the interest rates, when people couldn't pay back, they would have to, give up certain things. And these brothers got richer and richer, and their families got richer, and they started giving their children more things, and it stayed within that family until they started owning banks, because now more people started coming to them. And from that, guess what happened? Countries, leaders started coming to them, and they were like, oh, if a war starts on the left, then we can give money to the left and the right, charge them interest rates, and from that, we can actually make more money. So what did they do? They started to incite these wars. Every time there was a time of peace, they would literally start sending out propaganda for countries to literally fight against each other. And guess what? All the countries would come to them for these money. And then they would start making sure that all the money stayed within a certain rank of people. And that literally built the Jewish wealth. And it even started way back from the Bible, but that was literally the way how a lot of wars are maintained to this day. They own that, those brothers, literally their children, their great-grandchildren coming all the way down, Federal Reserve, they own that. They own all the big banks across Europe, all the big banks that all these, they don't pay tax, they don't pay nothing. All these countries come to them. So everybody literally go to them for money, no matter what, no matter where you are. Yes.
You know, you just described one family, right?
That sounds like the federal bank, actually, federal government.
Yes, they own.
Well, I'm just showing they know who they're gonna give the money to, who they're gonna give less interest rate versus the higher interest rate. But I'm just showing that is how you're able to build your whole generation and making sure that there's always money within your entire generation and your whole tribe.
I think it's that in the Jewish community, the dollar circulates 11 times. I mean, for
thank
11
you very
hours.
much.
And in the Black community, it circulates for 30 minutes.
Because every time we build,
we have the most spending power. We have the most spending power.
What do they do every time we build a Black community? What do they do?
I don't know. Why don't you tell us, Miss Rochelle?
I think we also need to just consider the whys. Like, why does our dollar circulate? Why are they able to do the things that they're able to do? Like, it's not just that they have family values. We got family values too. Like,
thank you.
It's not that simple. We need to. I think we need to kind of go a little deeper.
I didn't get to expound because Rochelle knew all the answers.
Not all of them. She just jumped in a little.
So look. It is evident that when it comes to business, that is the key to wealth in this country. You have to start businesses. And most of the Jewish people I know right now have their own business. I was talking to another one and he said, you know how Jewish people are? Most Jews in Israel, this is what he was saying to me, are comfortable with their own business if all the money they make is enough to feed their family. So all they make is enough to feed their family, but they have their own business, which means they control their own destiny, which means they have their own table. Every single time I hear Black people complain about ill treatment at work or all of this stuff that happens when you're sitting at somebody else's table, I laugh because I'm like, why are you fighting to be someplace you're not wanted? That every single time when Blacks in this country have amassed wealth was when we did everything together. They say that like there is like a whole ton of new Black millionaires in Atlanta. Ali, you know why?
You're gonna say they stopped complaining?
No. Tyler Perry started a company and decided he wanted to work with Black people, pay Black people fairly. And Tyler Perry is birthing tons of new Black millionaires.
Yo, that goes into my next question. Sorry, finish, Trey. Sorry.
So the point I'm trying to make is this. Yes, complain if you want. But after you're done complaining, what are you going to do to solve your problem? You cannot say, hey, because of him, I can't do anything, or because of the system, I can't. There are people in the system that's flourishing. Rochelle is in the system and flourishing. You
No.
you want to lie and say you
No,
not.
she's
but
not
you-
lying. We need to believe Rochelle when she says that teachers are underpaid and under-resourced. That's not a
what
personal complaint. That's a structural, intentional issue that we are dealing with in this country. And that's what
not what
Rochelle
I'm-
is speaking to as a teacher.
That's not what I'm talking about.
What are you talking? So what are you saying Rochelle be saying?
Rochelle is thriving, is what I'm saying.
Rochelle, are you thriving?
Rochelle owns her home. What year is your car, Rochelle?
And she still deserves more, and it's still not enough. It don't matter what year the car is.
Yes.
You're not.
People who have my
Oh,
qualification are making six figures easy. People who don't even have my qualification are making six figures.
How long you been
easy.
teaching, Rochelle?
Who are not in my field, who are not teachers. Are you kidding me?
Let me go to the next question. Dre
So
just
why don't
answered.
you go work in their field
Dre.
instead of wait.
Because she wants to be a teacher.
So then don't complain when you're making
Why
a teacher's
not?
salary.
Why
You're
not?
Pay
Wait, hold on.
everybody
No.
with the same
No.
qualification,
Hold
the same
on.
money.
Serious?
Hold on a second. Hold on. Why
Are you
the fuck
serious
can't
right
wait?
now?
No. Yes, we are. We're all talking over each other. Why can't we complain about shitty structural problems that are bigger than us? Why can't we complain? I want to get into this piece because it seems like the complaining piece is what is really nagging you. What is the issue with people complaining about what they know is not right?
So here's the deal. Rochelle knew the salary of a teacher before she became a teacher. Matter of fact, Rochelle aspired to become a teacher, knowing everything she knows right now.
That doesn't matter. What if your passion is teaching? So does that mean that you should just not say anything?
I don't get to speak. So if your passion is teaching and you did the research and aspired to become a teacher, now you're a teacher, you have reached your goal. Don't start complaining about what your reality is as a teacher, because you knew this before you got in there. Now, if you know of a field of expertise that you have a specialty in that makes the six figures that you're talking about, why didn't you go there, make the money, and volunteer your time to help young Black kids, and instead of becoming a teacher and complaining and then talking about them who are doing what you didn't do? That seems nonsensical to me. If you wanted to make six figures, go in a field that makes six figures. Don't intentionally go in a field that makes $60,000 or $70,000 or $80,000 a year and then complain that you're making $60,000 or $70,000 or $80,000 a year. Makes no sense to me.
But
that's why I have a problem with the complaint.
But they could pay teachers more though, on top of
Of course they could. Teachers are underpaid. That is not my argument. My
and
argument is
they will with more complaining too.
Who said? Do we have any proof of that?
Complaining leads to the fire being ignited within you to create the change, to go and fight for it. That's why I said I'm for complaining. I'm like, yeah, let's get angry.
Oh, okay.
Let's get it popping. Let's make change. Easier said than done. That doesn't mean now Rochelle's gonna go next week and get somebody to sign a new bill. If it's easier said than done. But Rochelle doesn't want to go be a tech bro. Rochelle wants to be a teacher. Rochelle wants to be with the kids.
Rochelle, you don't want to be a tech bro?
And I respect the fact that Rochelle wants to be benevolent with her time.
But you don't want to hear about it though. You don't want Rochelle to come to you honestly and openly.
You made this choice. You made this choice.
Yeah.
You can't decide to go become a farmer and then complain that your nails are always dirty. You're
Dre, listen. People become things because of their parents and what their parents forced on them, instilled on them. You know how many nurses probably was like, yo, my parents was a nurse and that's why I became a nurse. And then they hit this predicament like, yo, I don't want the vaccine. And now I'm forced to leave my job.
Yeah. Or what about I became a nurse because that's all my fucking guidance counselor kept talking to me about. That's the only way forward that my entire school building presented for me.
Yes, sure. and so you became a nurse and you're unhappy now, then jump off the ladder that you
No,
climbed.
it's not that simple, and you know that. You know it's not that simple for everybody. We don't have the same circumstances. That's you.
Dre, how long did it take you to quit your job and get a car?
But that's you, Dre. You're different from every
3
other single
months.
person.
3
We
months.
have
And the
different
security of a wife.
You
and
asked me
whatever
how
else.
long.
We can go down a long list of privileges.
I'm not the
We
only
all
person
have.
that did what I did, you know.
No, it's true.
All right, let me ask this. What will save Black people? Dre
We don't
answered
need-
it in a way where he said, you know, we all need businesses. We all
And to
need
stop complaining.
businesses. And to stop
Dre said
complaining.
to shut up and work. Kim Kardashian said what
That's
she
it.
said, and
That's
Dre
it.
said yes.
Shut up,
Dre said
shut up
yes.
and work.
Go to work.
Let me tell you something. I was just telling somebody this today.
To shut up and go to work.
If you're depressed, dig into your work. If
That
you're
was not
happy,
your advice. You told him to work more?
yeah, work more. Because if you're busy working, you ain't got time to be depressed.
No,
right?
you need to deal with your depression.
you're
Dre.
That is when you become even more depressed.
Whatever.
No, you need
Whatever.
assisted suicide
Whatever.
help.
Dre, work is not going to save
I would say he needs sun because we just coming off of
Yes,
6 months of no sun.
that is
And
well.
seasonal
That is
depression
well.
is real.
Yes, yes.
If you happy, get to work. If you sad, get to
Dre.
work. Ravi told you about this. Remember when Ravi was on the show?
What he
Ravi
said?
had a girlfriend. Remember he was talking about a girlfriend. He went into depression. And Ravi said he dug into his business. And now his business is bigger and better than it was when that woman dumped him. And
Dre,
made him
is Robbie okay? Is he okay outside of his work? Is he doing okay?
Yes, he is.
All right, I hope so, because work is not going to save us. Who are we outside of work?
Yes,
Who are we?
yes,
I'm dying to know.
is.
I can't wait to find out who I am outside of work. I hope before I
Facts.
die, I can find out who the fuck is Frances Perez if she's not worried about her fucking job and bills.
And
So
that
stop.
is
And
also a
productivity.
part. That is a part of systematic racism. They tie us in with, they tie the amount of work you do with who you are. And your work does not define who you are. And that is why a
Who
lot
are
of
you, Dre?
people, when they are tired, they don't know who they are. Because
Tell
their
me, Dre.
whole life, they were defined
By their work.
job.
By their productivity, by their
Yes.
By their
Dre,
productivity.
Who are we? I want to
Who
know right
are
now
you?
who Dre is outside of work right now. I don't have an answer for me, but I want to know Dre's answer right now.
I'm that guy.
I'm that.
Okay.
I told y'all, yes, last time.
Dre is work.
That's
That
my
is what he's trying to
pronoun.
say. Dre is
I'm
work.
that guy. No, she asked me outside of work. She asked me outside of work. Look,
Do you
listen,
have outside of work?
I do. I'm not at work right now.
Okay,
Are
but
you
you in a
not?
mind, you in a work mentality.
Thank
you
you.
have your
Thank
tie
you.
on.
In the work.
I just got
sleeping work.
home.
He still
I
has his
sleeping work.
just got
Waking work.
home. I just
Work.
got
Yo.
With the kids work. Everything is work for Dre.
Francis, what did you say? Black people don't need saving?
Oh no, we just need resources. We need you remember the first two.
it.
We have, yes, and we don't, but we do. You said yourself that the playing field is unequal, so we do not all have the same access to the same resources. We can agree on that. But I want to ask y'all if you remember those first 2 weeks of the pandemic where everything stopped and people were able to not be at work and be their true selves, and think about things outside of the pressure of the bills. I'm interested in that mentality. I don't think we need.
I can tell you who that Dre is.
Who's that? I mean, well, that Dre, sure. Okay, I want to hear more about that Dre, but I bring that up to say, I think we were able to see in those 2 weeks, the possibilities of our lives outside of work. And that's what I'm interested in. I don't think we need to be saved. I think we need to be able to live without worrying about basic needs. We don't need people to help us do things. I think of course, we're always going to need help and to learn more skills and stuff, but we know what we want. We know what we need. We're all very capable people. We just need to be able to do our shit in peace.
No, not facts. Not facts.
Which part?
So we did an episode on this show called "Why These People Ain't Trying to Go Back to Work."
My God.
Yes.
Listen,
And we had
abolish work. Abolish
and we
it.
all right, no problem. We had a HR rep come on the show.
What they say?
And
They say everybody's lazy.
no,
Okay.
she told us that during the pandemic, there are some people who had a realistic look on their life and decided, look, I don't want to do this anymore. I probably wasn't getting paid enough. I'm going to make a change. And they made, they got, educated during the pandemic, and they're now doing different things, right?
Mhm.
She also mentioned that some of them are like, look, I want to be home. I want to work from home position. I no longer want to come back
Mhm.
into the office. So
Mhm.
she highlighted people who made a choice after the COVID reset, right? There were people who decided that I'm not going back. Um, I'm not going back on the plantation, and they didn't. A lot of people went back on the plantation. They chose to go back on the plantation. There's an exodus of people right now that decided they wanted to become truckers because there's a trucker shortage and truckers make a ton of money. You don't have to sit in the job that you are in. There are so many opportunities out there. You just have to go looking.
Let me also
But
remind you of something, Dre. A lot of people aren't able to read. I don't know if you know that too, but just a lot of people aren't able to read in America.
I think that's real. A lot of people don't have the resources and the privileges that we have, things that seem obvious to us, not everybody has. But something I'm thinking about, Dre, is that a lot of us know that we don't need to work as much as we do. I'm thinking of this story. I saw this documentary a few years ago about Hawaii, the United States takeover of Hawaii. Um, and how a woman from Hawaii was saying that prior to the Americans getting to Hawaii, the Hawaiians had everything they needed. They had all the resources. They had the food, the fresh water. They only had to work 3 hours a day, and they had everything they needed. And then it wasn't until the Americans came that they now have, we all have this long ass work day. So I think a lot of the frustration is how our livelihood depends on work, and then we then incorporate that into our like identity and our worth. I think it's great that we have passions. Working is fun. I love coordinating projects and shit. Like, I love working, but it's the amount of work that we do and how it has taken over our lives. That's my real issue with it.
Yo, in Indonesia, the same thing happened. People were
There's an
living off the land. They were living off trees and fruits, not paying rent. And they said companies came over there with guns, chopped down the trees, built factories, built houses, told them they have to pay rent so they had to work long hours.
Yeah.
And they had to friggin' make sneakers.
We don't need any of that. We there's enough of everything.
that story doesn't even make sense.
Which part?
Which one?
The one you just told.
Why doesn't it make sense, Trey?
You just said they were living off the land, right?
Yeah.
Which means they didn't need money, right?
Yes.
So in Indonesia, there are no more forests.
I'm sure there's some forests, but not to the plentiful
So
that
if
fed
you
all of the
didn't
people.
if you didn't want to work in a factory and you wanted to continue living off the land, I am almost certain it was still possible. Now look,
Dre, you cannot
Unless
just
they
run
took
into the
off,
woods. You can't just run into the woods.
unless they took down
why
so
not?
many trees that it made a big difference.
My God.
Unless they took down
I
so
hope
many trees that everybody's not able to live in the woods.
you can't. Not everybody can just escape into the woods. Not everybody has the means to
But
just leave like
but
that.
he just said that's what they did. He said they lived in the woods and they lived off the land. Then some companies came, chopped down the trees, built factories, and then these people went to go work in the factories. The only
No, they
reason,
told them to work. They told them to work.
Yeah, because the companies are working in relationship with the politicians. It's not just like the
so
companies
you're
appeared out of
saying,
nowhere.
so you're saying if they decided not to work, the government would have beat them or killed them?
The government,
Possibly.
there's a lot of different ways, to harm your citizens for sure.
Possibly.
It's nothing to send the
I'll
military
look it up
over.
more. I'll
It's
look
nothing...
up the story more.
Please do.
Yeah. I mean, just look
Please.
up any story of colonization. This isn't some unique story that Ali is sharing with us right now. This is literally white supremacy. Like, it shows up in different ways. Think of any other example of Europeans entering a country and then running shit. Like,
so black people don't have anything to do with where they are in life today. That's what y'all are telling me?
No, we're talking about the individual, but we're talking about the systems. I think Rochelle and I are focusing in this conversation are focusing on the systemic stuff. There's only but so much we can do. You can become a millionaire.
We know the system is a problem. So
yes.
focusing
and that's the original question. We know the system is a problem. Do we want to dead the system and create a better one for ourselves? Or do we want to tweak the system knowing that at the end of the day, the cops don't care about any of this shit? If you black, the cops gonna do what they do. Like, be a millionaire all you want. The cop doesn't care that you're a millionaire when you get pulled over.
That is not true.
The cop is gonna take a moment to ask a black man if they have money?
Emphatically incorrect.
Wow.
Yes. Now here is facts for you. And you can ask any police friend you have. They will tell you this.
I have zero.
Perfect. That's a you thing. So
yes, it is.
Cops normally don't pull over people driving fancy cars. And they'll tell you they don't pull over too many fancy cars because there's a high likelihood the person driving those fancy cars is connected, and they don't want that hassle of their boss having to talk to them because they were doing their jobs. So they harass cars, people driving ordinary cars.
That's okay to you?
No, but I'm saying if we all get wealthy, we would then put ourselves in the bracket that they don't bother. The police in wealthy communities. Okay, I told the group this just not too long ago. A buddy of mine lives in Connecticut, right? And he got pulled over because he was speeding. The cop took his information, and I sent the video to you guys so y'all could hear the conversation between him and the cop. It was a white cop, and the cop just let him go because he was living in a affluent community. My car broke down. My kids were watching a movie in the truck, and the audio wasn't working, so I shut off the truck so they can listen to shut off the truck to reset the system, and then to start it back up so the sound will come on. I shut the truck off and it wouldn't go back on. So I had to call an Uber to go run my errands, to get back home, jump in another car, to go try to jump the one that broke down. When I got back there was a cop there. And he goes, "What happened?" I said, "The truck shut off and wouldn't start." He goes, "Oh man, I was just about to call a tow truck. Luckily you showed up." I said, "Yeah, man, thank you. Let me try to get it started. Maybe I'll need a tow truck anyway, but let me try to get it started." He goes, "It's all right, no problem. In the future, call us. We will sit here and wait with you because this street is dangerous." Now, if you can see me, I'm a really dark guy. This was a white cop that was saying these things to me. So I'm saying this to say, when you find now look, I lived in the Bronx, right? I lived on 167 in Girard Avenue.
Where you come from?
I'm Jamaican, right? I remember I bought my first car. I bought a 2004 red Acura TL. I used to go to Lehman College. And on my way home from Lehman College, they used to set up checkpoints on the Grand Concourse. And I've told this story on here before. And the cops would always, always, always pull me into the checkpoint. One day I said to the cop, "Why? Look, maybe I'm lucky, but I don't think I'm this lucky. Please tell me what I did to have you pull me into this checkpoint." And he said to me, it's random. I said, no, it can't be random because this is not the first time you guys pulled me in. I'm looking at all these other cars passing me, but you pulled me in. Why? Please tell me so I could stop doing it. He couldn't tell me because then that would be them snitching on themselves. When I was fed up of living in the Bronx, I moved out of the Bronx and I moved to the suburbs. I've never gotten pulled over for no reason since I moved out of the Bronx. I'm saying if us as Black people put ourselves in the socioeconomic status, right, that those people get paid proper attention to, then a lot of the problems we have, we will no longer have. Because it's too much of us that, because look, wealthy people fund things. Wealthy people pay more taxes. Now, you cannot be paying, the police officers know taxes is what pays their salaries. If you are a high-paying tax citizen, trust me when I tell you, that's why when you go and you do something in a store and the store owner is wrong and the cops come, the cops is 9 times out of 10 gonna take the side of the store owner because he's a business owner and he's paying more taxes than the average consumer.
Okay.
Theoretically. So I'm saying, go ahead. No, I was about to repeat myself. Go ahead.
Rochelle, what will save Black people? I asked everybody else except for you.
I think everybody who feels it's important, because if you don't feel it's important, then what's the point? We have to come together. What is it that we value? And then based on what we value, we then have to make sure we are united in that and that we remove the fence that's blocking everything that is stopping us from rising to where we need to be.
I like that. What I think, I heard somebody say something.
I don't understand what you just said. Say that again.
I think everybody that thinks it's important to rise up from where we are need to come together, and we need to remove the fence that is blocking everybody from rising to where they need to be.
Yeah.
So removing like barriers to resources and equity.
All the barriers.
Everybody getting together and deciding what it is that we all want as a group too, right?
Yes, to move to that level where we need to be.
What if I told y'all there was no barriers?
No, you can't say that because you also said
to you.
Because he also said that the playing field is not equal. So he knows that there are barriers. He knows that Black folks, he knows that poor people and Black folks don't have the same access to food as white wealthy people. He knows that our schools are shittier than white wealthy schools. He just said himself that he doesn't get stopped living in the suburbs versus living in the Bronx. So he knows inherently that the system is not fair.
Well, we're talking about barriers, right? Remember, in the beginning, we gave the illustration of people trying to watch a game, but there was a barrier in front of some people. Right. What if I said to you, when I say there's no barrier, I'm saying, stop trying to watch the football game. Go watch cricket. Cricket is another sport. Cricket is also enjoyable once you get to understand it, right?
Game is life.
Fine.
Yes, the game is life. That's literally
not a problem. Not a problem. So if, again, Francis, you mentioned that we find identity in what we do, and you're trying to figure out a way to have an identity outside of what we do. If you look at life and our professions as a ladder, right? We climb ladders trying to get to the top, to get to be the boss, to get to be the manager, to get to a higher salary, blah, 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 blah. All I'm saying is, if you're hitting a ceiling on that ladder you're climbing, look around. there are a whole bunch of other ladders you can go climb. Jump off of the one you want, go climb another one. That's all I'm saying. So if you got a barrier over here on this ladder, I jumped off of 2 ladders. When I came out of high school, I was working for AIG. And I wanted to become an underwriter. I was working in the claims department. I wanted to become an underwriter. And I was working there for like 3 years. And because of all sorts of rubbish, they would not give me a raise. I went to my manager and I'm like, yo, how come I ain't get a raise in, however long? And she was like, oh, because of XYZ. And I'm like, but we spoke about this. She goes, well, it was in your chart. And I'm like, heifer, you put it in my chart.
Right.
So you're the reason I'm not getting the raise. You know what I did? Instead of sitting there and complaining, I got a new job. I started working for Presbyterian in their claims department. One day I'm sitting at my desk and my supervisor's boss ran into my cube, almost panting. And I'm like, yo, what's your problem? She goes, oh, I just got word that you weren't working. You look like you wasn't working. And I'm like, what?
Wow.
Well, you see I'm working. What now? She's like, why is your screen turned this way? I'm like, yo, everybody's screen is turned so you don't see it when you're walking by. Why is my screen the issue? Now, it was an office full of Black people, right? So they weren't picking on me because I'm Black. Matter of fact, the manager was a Black woman. So anyway, I got to find out that one of the directors, she didn't like me for whatever reason. Now, this is a woman, and I've told this story before, so I'm just saying it for Francis's sake. Every morning, this woman is saying hello to me. When I found out, somebody met me in the elevator and said, you need to get out of here before they fire you. So I left the job. I'm not going to fight to be there. They don't want me there. I left. I got another job. And that job was, it was okay. It wasn't, the amount of pay I wanted, but it was okay. I was happy there, blah, blah, blah. And then another opportunity came and I left that one. The point I'm trying to make is, if you're experiencing barriers to where you're trying to get to, stop trying to go that way and go a different way. The point, yeah, like you sitting there and complaining about white supremacy, blah. When you own your own business, ain't no white supremacy. You the boss. You do what you want, when you want, how you want, and all the money is yours.
Yo, I think what will save Black people is, I heard this guy say it one time. He said, if every Black person had life insurance, the police would stop killing us.
Can you say more?
I agree.
It is because insurance companies hate paying out that life insurance, especially when they got to do it early. So they would investigate and investigate and investigate until the police stop killing us. I think that's one thing that we can do. With that being said, do you guys think we should fight for this land and reparations on this land, or should we move back to our motherlands?
That's a really interesting question. Some people, this is their motherland. Some people, have yet to reconnect with their motherlands. It's easier said than done to go back to the motherland. I think I'm really concerned by people who return home and then are like gentrifying their home. Like, how can we go home? What are the best ways that we can return to home that wouldn't include displacing other people who are from home? But I think that question I think that's difficult because it really does depend on who we're talking about. I'm Puerto Rican. Both of my parents are Puerto Rican. I personally don't feel comfortable going back to Puerto Rico and acquiring land because I feel like that land is for people who are, who have been on the island And for people who were there, and also recognizing that there are a lot of, gentrifiers and white folks moving to Puerto Rico, taking land. So I feel bad about going to my own island to take land. So I think that's a really complicated question. And I think we also have to prioritize the indigenous people of this land. And yes, black folks, descendants of enslaved Africans. Yes, we need land. We are people of the land. We must reconnect to the land. And also we need to make sure that we're doing right by people who are literally from this land, from Turtle Island.
If you could think of a way that would solve Black people's problems, what's the solve? Or if you have multiple solves, what are those solves?
Yeah, I think I mentioned before, I think resources, there are a lot of really dope projects going on. There's a lot of like grassroots movements happening, a lot of just local organizing work, people providing, people working to get control of our lives. And like you're saying, do the things that we need to do for ourselves. There are people who are doing what we need for ourselves, and we just need resources and money. I think that's a very simple first step. Folks investing in our projects, in our passions, in our work. What do you think?
The government gives you money to start businesses. Do you know that?
Yes, I do. And you know that that's not accessible to everybody, right?
Yeah, but how many people don't even know? How many people don't even try to get it?
And that's a problem too. These things can exist at the same time. There are people who do not know, people who do not research, people who could be doing a way better job of finding the resources, like you're saying. And also there's inequity and there's barriers to getting to those resources. They're both happening at the same time. It's not one or the other.
So this is where frustration kicks in, right? Because you're saying part of the solution is we need people to invest in us. And then I say to you, there is money sitting out there for us to use to invest in ourselves. And you're saying to me, yeah, these people don't even know or even try to go look for it.
Some people.
Okay. So can we agree then that problem is solved, the money part?
No, we can't agree because there's still inequity. Like we're little grants and loans and things, like that's not going to solve the inequity. Those are crumbs. Like I am familiar with these grants. I'm often in situations where multiple organizations are scrambling for fucking crumbs. Like the little grants and the little loans are not the solution. That's not the end all be all. So I don't think that that's solved. I think that we need more money than what's already being provided.
How much more?
I don't have the number. I think that's to me that's irrelevant.
And what is the money gonna do?
The money requires us to do the work. We need money to do the work because we live in a capitalist system. There's different projects happening and people need money to fund it.
It's going to equal the playing field. Is that what
to
they
a
say?
certain, it can allow us to get things done. You, Dre, know better than me that we need money for business, things you need to be able to invest to get the output, right?
So all I'm hearing is things and like just general terms. And I like, okay, so if we're digging a little deeper, you're saying then businesses, we need to have our own businesses, right? So if I'm going to just dig a little bit deeper to what you're saying. So
that's one example. Businesses. I'm thinking of land. We need land. There are people who want to grow their own food. Yeah, we can't all afford it though. That's the thing. We can't all afford the land.
You ever heard of the first time home buyers program?
Sure.
What is the first time home buyers program?
I've heard of, I don't know specifically what that one is, but I know that there are different pools of money that go to people who are buying homes.
Right.
For the first
so
time.
The government will give you $10,000 towards the down payment of buying your home.
And have you looked into like what that breakdown is like racially, like are people of color getting the same loans as white folks?
When you say the same loans, what do you mean?
The same, the loans that you're talking about, the first.
It's not a loan; it's a grant.
And are people of color getting the same?
Yeah.
When you break down the numbers.
Yeah. That I found out about it in our community. I was a realtor, and when you go to the class is in an urban community, and is minorities are sitting in the classes. Okay, so I'm saying to you that opportunity. So now you're saying, you might say, hey, it's only $10,000. What can $10,000 buy? Well, if you move to Pennsylvania, $10,000 can put down on a house with 7 acres of land.
I love the Bronx. I don't want to leave the Bronx unless
I'm not from that.
Africa.
Yeah, my family's in the Bronx. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So here's what I'm saying to you, right? Let's identify the problem and then try to solve the problem. So if you're saying we need to start businesses, and then I say there's money out there for people who want to start businesses, then let's start looking for the money and try to get the money. So that's one solution, and I agree with you. I think if most of us had our own businesses, and everybody obviously can have their own businesses, but if we decided to work if a bunch of us decided to have businesses, and then we go and hire one another, right? Now what we're doing is building a net worth for ourselves. That's one situation, businesses. Then you mention land, because there are people out there that are looking to grow their food and eat what they grow, or even grow and sell, whatever. And I say to you, the government will give you money to go buy house and land. And your response to me is, I like the Bronx, I don't want to leave.
I mean, so not everybody can leave their family, though. It's not that I like the Bronx, it's that I'm here. Not everybody can leave their family, was the point that I was making by saying that I like the Bronx. I'm just saying it's easier. It's going to be a different situation for everyone. We can't all just leave our families.
So when you have a systemic problem, right? You said you're Puerto Rican, right? Your mom and dad was born in Puerto Rico?
Just my dad and me.
Your dad and you were born in Puerto Rico. So I'm assuming you have a ton of family in Puerto Rico. Y'all got up and left them.
That wasn't her choice.
And something leads you to believe that was simple? No, I mean, that's an assumption.
The point I'm making is, it was hard, but you guys did it.
Yeah.
Now you're saying it's hard, we don't want to do it.
I hear you.
So look, there are solutions. There are solutions, and all of them are not going to be easy, but it's a solution.
It's a possibility,
so
for
let's
sure.
Let's just say, fine. I got family in the Bronx, but I got the opportunity to go buy land in Pennsylvania. I'm gonna go work in Pennsylvania. I'm gonna go buy the land, cultivate the land, and once the business gets up and running, I move back to the Bronx. Or I drive back to the Bronx every weekend to hang out with my family while I'm working in Pennsylvania in the week. The point I'm trying to make is, there are opportunities and solutions to our problems. I live very far from work, right? But when I talk to some of my colleagues, they look at me and they say, Dre, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it. And I'm like, because I got kids to feed. That's why.
Right.
It's not easy, but stuff got to get done. So I'm the man of this house. I need to go figure out how to feed my family.
Yes. Yo, well, Francis, thank you so much for bestowing your knowledge upon us. What are you working on right now?
Thank you so much.
What is Francis working on?
Yes, thank you so much for having me, y'all. It's been an honor and a privilege and a joy, and very entertaining and mentally stimulating to be here tonight with y'all. I am working on resting and simplifying my life and spending time with family. Right now, I'm working with Farm School NYC, which was a program that I actually went through and graduated from, which is really exciting. It's an urban agriculture program that focuses on social justice and food justice. I went from student to facilitator to program co-coordinator, climbing one of those ladders, I guess, as Dre was talking about earlier. So Farm School is really dope. It's really exciting to support land stewards and people who are, interested in food and land struggles and like I've been saying, creating this world that we know we deserve. So focusing on Farm School, focusing on family, helping my baby cousin start a little garden in Queens, which I'm excited about.
Oh, that's
Things
nice.
like that. Yeah.
Will we be able to catch you in Union Square for the farmers market this summer?
No, I don't do the farmers market anymore, but I do still work for that farm. So that's Rise and Root. Yeah, that's Rise and Root Farm. We're at Union Square Market every Friday. And I go up to the farm. I go up to the farm once a week. This past Monday, we were planting seeds and separating little tomato seedlings and stuff like that. So still with the farm, but not at the market. But I suggest you visit the Union Square Market and support Rise and Root Farm. Every Friday, yes, Rise and Root, woman owned, queer owned, Black woman owned. It's a very, very dope farm, and we have delicious tomatoes and herbs.
Nice. Mad different tomatoes, mad unique tomato. Like,
You've
how many different tomatoes are there?
Oh my God, at least like 6 different varieties, probably a couple more. They go in with the varieties. They're all like heirloom varieties.
No, I mean in the world, like how many different types?
Oh my God, I have no idea. I mean, people like to insert themselves and tweak things and make different varieties. So I'm sure there are hundreds of different types of tomatoes, and they're all, some of them have different flavors, different like water content. They look crazy. Yeah, it's a whole rabbit hole.
You said we got somebody to make the food. We got somebody to make the clothes. We need somebody to make the shoes, right?
We got several people to grow the food. We got several people to cook it. We got lawyers. We have chefs. We have caretakers. We have birth and death doulas. We have clothing makers. I have yet to find the shoe. We have lifeguards, people who can swim. We have shooters. But I'm trying to figure out where the shoemakers are when shit hits the fan and we have to create our own societies. Who is making the shoes?
Facts. It's gonna be Dre. Dre ain't gonna be complaining. He gonna be knocking that.
Dre's gonna step up. Dre's gonna step up and say, okay, we need a shoemaker.
We need 500 shoes today, Dre.
Stat.
Hey, if there's nobody making shoes and the world needs shoes, if you're not thinking, let me run and go make shoes, you're stupid.
Jesus Christ, can you help us with the shoes, Dre? Fuck, can you help us?
Well, but there isn't a need for shoemakers right now.
When shit hits the fan and we have to live in communities alone, outside of capitalism and white supremacy, when the dollar has been deemed obsolete, are you going to step up and create the shoes for our people?
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
I'm going to be playing the shoemaker.
Yes, and we appreciate. We need you.
Yeah. So I wanted to say this before we wrapped up. There are tons and tons and tons of opportunities out there.
Yes.
Our people have the ability, the know-how, and the knowledge, and the vision, and the inspiration to create things. I mean, why haven't we created our own social media platform?
People try. People have done it. There are some out there right now that we need to be supporting. So everything exists.
They should be using Twitter, because Twitter came out and now we hear of Black Twitter. Right? And now Black Twitter is popping. Right? So y'all should be using Black Twitter.
Is that a seat at the table?
No, it's not powerful.
Yes. Okay, so for me, you mentioned that. I wanted to touch on it, but I didn't. So to me, when I say a seat at the table, I'm talking about you didn't build this table. And so someone built the table, and you're going there to eat off of that table. I don't assume that everyone at the table has power. I'm saying the person who built the table, they're the one that has the power. So if we have the vision, the inspiration, blah, blah, blah. Twitter came out and Twitter wasn't hot until Black Twitter, right? So y'all should use Black Twitter to advertise this Black social media platform and get that one popping.
Right.
But we don't do that. That's the first thing I wanted to say. Second thing I wanted to say, there's a company in the Bronx. It's called the Small Business Administration. What this company does is it once you go there, you sign up, they will put you in classes, business classes that helps you write up a proposal. It will help you write up what is that thing called when you write for your business? I forget what it's called, but
the scope of work or the business proposal.
Right, it'll help you write your business proposal.
Plan.
Business plan. There you go. So one, they will teach you about what a business is, different types of businesses, and then it will help you or allow you to go and figure out what kind of business you want to get into, and then it will teach you how to run businesses, and then it will have you write your business plan. And then it will connect you with banks that want to lend you money to start your business. So when you look at me and you tell me there's no money out there, and I'm like, what are you
I
talking
never said
about?
that. No, there's abundance.
Well, you
there's
said
more than enough money. I talked about the access and the barriers. I said that there's more than enough resources.
Right.
I hear what you're saying though, and I'm a fan of that. And I'm the first to say, let's utilize those resources. I know exactly what program you're talking about. I've utilized this program.
So that's my point. Instead of sitting down, because I'm gonna tell you this right now. We talk about how we dominate sports, right? The HBCUs, they're not the ones getting TV contracts. We're sitting here talking about Black this, Black that. I don't see HBCUs getting TV contracts, which means that the premier athletes aren't signing up to HBCUs. Because if the premier athlete was signing up to HBCUs, the television would go and follow that premier athlete.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm saying, what I'm saying is, look, we need to support each other. But just in case we're not supporting each other, you still got to go out and look out for you. And you look out for you by finding out a need in your society and figuring out a way to fill that need. And once there's a need and you can fill the need, you will make money. And you don't have to worry about no ceiling after that. Because this is your table. You created this table. When you go to a wedding reception, it ain't just one table there. It's a whole ton of tables. But we look in the world and we see 5 tables and everybody's clamoring to be at one of the 5 tables. Create your own table. That's all I'm saying. I'm not trying to say white supremacy don't exist. I'm not trying to say Black people should stop complaining. All I'm saying is, look, you're fighting to be somewhere where you are not wanted. Go figure out. You're talking about farming. If you go and you buy the land and start farming the land, and now you have the ability to sell whatever it is you're farming, who is the white supremacy stopping you at that point?
The white supremacy is the price of the land.
The white supremacy is the bank telling me no because I'm Black.
Right.
The white supremacy is telling me no because the white supremacy is the bank telling me no when they see my debt that I accumulated from taking out a fucking loan for college because I grew up poor.
Right.
That's the white supremacy.
Exactly.
And also, Dre, I do agree with you. And that's what I'm excited about. I'm excited about creating those new tables. And I think your approach to life as an opportunity to reach and find those multiple, those many paths forward. I think that's important to put out there. I just hope that you can always remember that we don't all have the same experiences and something, we all have different privileges that make things easier for us than for other people. That's all I'm saying. I'm with you. Please, other tables, other realities, but let's be conscious and ideally sensitive to the fact that we all have different levels of accessibility to what we're talking about. Not
So
everybody can just go online and do shit. That seems easy to us, but somebody who's working 3 jobs, doesn't have citizenship, has family locked up, is afraid of being deported, the language barrier, sicknesses. I live in the Bronx. My family has asthma. Like, there's so many different things that get in the way of us just taking a
that's
business
why you
class.
need to leave the Bronx. You need
No,
to
but
go
the
move to
Bronx isn't the only.
Pennsylvania.
But I shouldn't have to. I shouldn't have to move to Pennsylvania to live a better life. The same way I shouldn't have to have a nice car to not be stopped by the
Asthma,
fucking cops.
the air in the Bronx is polluted. That's why the asthma count
Yeah,
is so.
and the air is polluted because the fucking highway does not go
Yes,
straight to the food
yes. They're not
depot.
gonna.
So the trucks, yeah, but that's
They're not
that's a
gonna move the
choice.
highway for you.
That's a choice because guess what? That would
Maybe they
listen
will.
to me. That would have
Nigga, you crazy.
they put the highway there because they would. You think a wealthy white neighborhood is gonna let them build the fucking highway? We don't have the same power as a wealthy neighborhood. They tried to
No,
do the same shit in the LES,
no,
and the LES
no.
has more power than the Bronx. The LES was able to say, "Y'all not gonna cut our neighborhood and put a highway through it,"
The
but we
Lower
didn't
East
have that
Side.
same power. Yes, Robert
What
Moses wanted to
highway?
build. Robert Moses wanted to, the same way we have the Cross Bronx in the Bronx, Robert Moses was going to build a major, kind of like the Bruckner, to go through the LES. And the LES said, we saw what the fuck you just did in the Bronx. We're not letting you do that down here. And the LES had the power and the resources to block that from happening. So it's like the highway isn't
Isn't
just a
that just a
random
vote?
thing.
Isn't that
It's
just a
not,
vote?
no, because it's not that simple though.
And we don't do
A
that
vote is
neither.
complicated. Yeah, because a lot of times we push shit through and the change still doesn't come. A law doesn't make everything okay. But my original point, Dre, was that I'm with you and I'm excited about your mentality around creating our own tables. That was my point. And my second point was that I should not need a nice car to not get stopped by the cops.
Facts.
So I wanted to also say that the mindset I have is not unique. It's not genius. I just feel like we as a people spend so much time complaining about the issues. If we spent the amount of time we have complaining about white supremacy, complaining about this, complaining about that, if we spent the same amount of time looking for opportunities, we wouldn't have the problems we have right now. So that's why when Ali is laughing, Rochelle is laughing, saying, "Oh, I don't want to hear this." I'm like, how many times you gonna complain that the tire is flat?
Yes, I
We
think
know the tire is flat.
we know, right? We're very clear.
Put on the spare.
Right, we've been dealing with the flat tire this whole time. Why are we still talking about the flat tire? I totally get that, and I think it's important to also to remind ourselves when we're thinking about the flat tire that there are people working on the tire. Every time, I hope that every time you get annoyed about people complaining about the flat tire, that you can remind yourself of me urging you to remember that people are working on the flat tire. People are building businesses around the flat tire. People are thinking of different types of materials to create iller tires that are in different shapes. Like, people, even if we don't see everybody, it's important that we uplift people, because people are literally the same way people are devoting their lives to creating businesses. People are devoting their lives to fucking being free and creating dope ideas, creating safety nets for our vulnerable community members. Like, people are doing the work. And I think we really, really, really need to not front like that's not happening. It's important for the energy, for the belief, to know that these things are real. Shit is bad.
And let me just also,
not every, we can't generalize. We're not all just complaining. That's not happening. People have been fighting to get free since we got. We can agree. We can agree on that.
Sometimes that pain lasts. That I was gonna say, let's just remember too, when you got done dirty, that shit lasts a lifetime. That shit hurts. That shit lasts multiple generations. Like, you could say you over, Dre, you could say you're over it, but then your kids will still be experiencing, when they get older, some form of oppression. You know what I'm saying? And you could be like, yo, don't complain. Like, for instance, the lady at the pool, and she say your daughter's not able to be in the pool, and you seen other kids in the pool. You know what I'm saying? Just because you say don't complain, that don't mean shit like that is not going to continue to happen. And it's like
that. And Drake could do everything. Drake could get his kids into Yale. Drake could work 7 jobs, become a millionaire, and still struggle. His kids could still go through some wild shit. He could give his kids everything. And because we're talking about systemic issues, shit could still hit the fan. There could still be opportunities that his kids are not able to access because of how fucked up the whole picture is. It doesn't matter how hard we work individually.
They put so many of our kids in special ed too, who just needed to run around the laps like a couple more laps than other kids, you know, and labeled them, you know, a problem.
It's true.
So
yeah.
So if I was taking my own advice, right, and I was building my own table, if my kid had to experience the oppression that you guys are talking about, it's because the table I built, my kid didn't want to sit at. Right? My kid didn't want to sit at the table I built. So she wanted to go out there and experience whatever it is that she got to experience. Right? Or I could have been doing my due diligence from now and making sure that by the time my kid graduates college or high school or whatever, they already have a business that they don't have to go worry about sitting at someone's table. I met a guy, he was a musician. And he was in college for software development, I think, or something like that. He wasn't done college yet when he already had his own IT business and marketing his services to the community around him. So that dude will never have to go beg at somebody else's table. That's what I think us as a people should be doing with our next generations.
Yeah, but that dude might still experience discrimination, and that dude may still experience barriers.
It's at a different level, though. It's at a different level than when you're going to go beg somebody to sit at their table. I think what we need to do, one of the things we need to do is in like most wealthy folks send their kids to liberal arts schools. And to me, before I started to think about these kinds of things, I was like, liberal arts schools are stupid. Why would you go to a liberal arts school? There's no concentration there, right? And then I started to think, wait a minute. What if the reason they're sending their kids to these liberal arts schools is because the regular schools are training you to be a worker, and these liberal arts schools are training you to think so you can create, and so you ain't got to worry about being a worker because you're creating where you at. We got to rethink how we're moving through
and that's
life.
That's another way white supremacy works. It tricks us into getting into debt and thinking we need to do this one thing when you got the rich folks over here doing this. You know what I'm saying? Like they throwing iPads in little kids' faces in public schools. I heard in Silicon Valley, all the rich send their kids to this one school. And this one school, they don't allow no electronics. You got to learn everything through writing first. So that's another level too, tricking the people into becoming employees.
Bro, you would be the one that's saying it's white supremacy why young people don't have access to technology. Stop talking about white supremacy and go and figure out how to beat the system.
Do both. Keep talking about it, keep your eye on it, and fuck the system. We have the capacity to do it all.
F the pigs.
Do it all. Why not?
So I get you. I hear you.
Need a shoemaker.
And that's okay. And we're not all going to be fighters. We're not all going to be revolutionaries. We're not all going to be business owners. We're not all going to be farmers. As long as we are spreading out the tasks, we're good to go.
But we ain't trying. We're sitting down.
You
like,
are surrounded by people who aren't trying, because people are trying. And that's what I mean. We need to, even if we don't know of the specific examples, we need to give credit where it's due. People are trying. There are people who aren't trying, and there are also people who are trying. People who have dedicated their lives to this. We need to uplift them, and we need to follow them, and we need to see how they're trying to make change too.
Tell your homeboy Ali that he needs to be talking about those people, because all he come on here and talk about is the white supremacists.
Because it's fascinating. I know it sucks. Ugh, it takes up my mind too sometimes. But that's what I think about. Everybody loves Wolf on Wall Street, right? It's like, stop talking about it, but go see Wolf on Wall Street. Like, what the fuck? That's so corrupt.
Well, look, so he literally, the Wolf on Wall Street is doing exactly what I'm telling you to do.
Scamming? What he did?
Figured out a way to beat the system.
Scamming. That's another word for scam.
No, he was selling actual stocks. He was selling actual stocks.
What he went to jail for then?
I forget. It was so long ago. I forget.
Yeah. Yo, Francis, thank you so much for coming on, bestowing us with the knowledge.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so fun.
Word.
I'm mad because we kind of veered into a liberation conversation and then we came back out. So you should come back and let's finish talking about liberation.
Oh yeah, no, we got into I mean, I'm assuming we'll reunite and continue talking. This is the work. This is life's work. I enjoy talking about these things and just reflecting on how we're moving in the world. So thank you for having me. And I would love to come back and keep talking.
All right, good to have you. Good to have you.
All right, later.
Help this dude figure something out, because all he want to sit down is and complaining.
That is not all he wants to do. No, been figuring it out.
Feels like it. Every time I turn around, he gonna blame white supremacy. Why his hair is blue? Why your hair blue? See,
white supremacy.
See,
you got tricked. You got tricked into wanting blue. The white man said.
Oh,
now on the box it said green, but it was actually blue. White supremacy.
Oh my God, it's for the cops.
No.
All right.
Y'all be well. Talk to y'all soon.
All right, bye. Well, guys, thank you for listening to another episode of the Gwan podcast.
Yeah.
As I mentioned, we are already on YouTube. If you don't know, now you know for the second time. Please like, subscribe, share our videos, spread the word, tell a friend.
Yes. And if you want us to talk about something that you want to hear about, you could email us at wagwanpodcast@gmail.com. WAHGWAN podcast@gmail.com. We're also on Instagram and we're on all your other favorite platforms. That's Apple, Google, Spreaker, SoundCloud, whatever you want. We got it. Listen in.